This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning. Welcome into you. I'm Rebecca Smith.
I'm Bill Bryant. Grab your best coat this morning. It is a cold one out there. It's Tuesday, January 5th.
Now at 6 a.m., the 2016 General Assembly starts today in Frankfort. We'll break down some of the biggest issues facing Kentucky lawmakers.
A lot to discuss there. Also, the search is on for 2 inmates who escaped from Lexington's Blackburn prison.
And an SEC showdown in Baton Rouge, a preview of tonight's UK-LSU game.
We have the teens and 20s this morning. It is an extremely cold start this morning. Once we hit the afternoon, we'll rise very rapidly. But it's coming from the teens, right around 33 degrees later on this afternoon. We'll talk about these sunny conditions and also a nice little warm up in the forecast coming up.
All right, let's get right to the news.
So health care, taxes, a smoking ban, just a few of the issues Kentucky lawmakers will tackle starting today.
A lot of discussions ahead. The 60-day 2016 General Assembly starts at noon today in Frankfort. It's the first legislative session under the newly elected Republican Governor Matt Bevin. WKYT's Mark Barber is at our live desk to break down some of the biggest issues on the agenda. Mark?
Good morning, Bill. Lawmakers will certainly have their hands full when they head back to Frankfort today. There are already dozens of pieces of legislation on the table, but the focus will be on tackling budget and pension issues. The first big question before the General Assembly: how to spend the state's $21.4 billion in tax money over the next 2 years. Another big issue for lawmakers: pension shortfalls. The state retirement system deficit is estimated to be in the billions of dollars. Lawmakers will also have plenty of other issues to battle during this 60-day legislative session. Just to name a few, start dates for children in public schools and smoking bans could come up. So when it comes down to a vote on many of these important issues, how could these issues play out? Well, the Democrats have a razor-thin majority in the House, and the Republicans hold the Senate. So that could come into play on hot-button topics like Medicaid, which could be decided along party lines. From the live desk, Mark Barber, WKYT.
Well, there will be a lot to talk about, and of course we'll have coverage throughout the session on WKYT.com and WKYT News. Well, one of Kentucky's top elected Democrats says he is concerned that the struggling party will not be able to field a viable candidate to challenge U.S. Senator Rand Paul in November. Congressman John Yarmouth of Louisville says leading Democrats are now recruiting potential contenders ahead of a January 26th filing deadline. Lexington Mayor Jim Gray is said to still be mulling a campaign for the Democratic nomination. Gray has said he loves his current job, but he acknowledges he is looking into the Senate race.
Well, a man accused of seriously injuring 3 people in a hit and run is headed back to court today. Asiel Areola Lavaco is charged with 3 counts of assault, leaving the scene of an accident, and DUI. Police say he crashed into 3 men who were on the sidewalk on Midland Avenue near East 3rd Street last month. 2 of the victims are brothers. One of the men suffered life-threatening injuries. A preliminary hearing is set for 8:30 this morning. New details this morning on the search for a convicted rapist on the run in Nelson County. The sheriff's office says Stephen Halsey was spotted in a barn on Nat Rogers Road last night. The owner found Halsey and says that he left his jacket behind. The convicted arsonist and rapist is wanted for not checking in with his parole officer. Police warn Halsey may become desperate as the temperatures continue to drop.
The search is on this morning for 2 inmates who escaped from a Lexington prison. Police say 24-year-old Jordan Green and 23-year-old Waltez Franklin were reported missing from the Blackburn Correctional Complex last night. Green is serving time for robbery and burglary convictions out of Boone and Kenton counties in northern Kentucky. And Franklin is serving time for robbery and assault convictions out of Warren County. Police searched the area around the prison throughout the night. The 2 escapees remain on the run this morning. Both men had more than a year to go before being eligible for parole. A Lexington murder victim's family says he knew the man accused of killing him. 25-year-old Donald Roark Jr. pleaded not guilty yesterday. Police say he shot 28-year-old Corinne White Sunday morning outside University Trails Apartments on Red Mile Road. White was the 2nd person to be murdered in Lexington in 2016.
Well, a man talked to us about nearly being robbed by 2 people he was trying to help. Michael Utley says a man came up to him at a Whately County gas station, said he was homeless and needed a ride. Utley says he took that man and the man's girlfriend to a home in Woodbine, but that's where he says the man pulled a gun on him.
And the next thing I know, he stepped around the front of the vehicle and he's got a gun in his side, and he said he wanted my wallet and the car. He looked down for a second. When he looked back up, I hit him with everything I had. I mean, I was scared for my life.
Utley was able to get away. The Whitley County Sheriff's Office later arrested the couple, Wayne Hoskins and Crystal Edwards, and charged them with robbery. Police released new video of a robbery to Kroger Pharmacy. We were first to tell you about last week's crime at the Jessamine County store. Police say the man was wearing a surgical mask when he handed a clerk a note demanding oxycodone. They're hoping someone will recognize the masked man.
The time this morning is 6:05 on WKYT. It is game day. For the first time this year, the Kentucky Wildcats will be going on the road in the SEC.
Kentucky takes on LSU tonight in Baton Rouge. They opened SEC play Saturday with a dominant win over Ole Miss. Tonight looks to be a tough test for the Cats. The Tigers have Ben Simmons, who was the top-ranked freshman coming into the season. It's Kentucky and LSU tonight at 9 on ESPN.
Now, your zone-by-zone forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
And we're looking at and about this morning, holding on to some pretty chilly conditions in the forecast. And we're going to be seeing that as we slide throughout your afternoon, too. We're look outside this morning, and we're pretty calm and quiet. Now, it's very cold, though, as we look towards your afternoon. We're going to be holding on to temperatures there in the 30s. There's 20s there, I would say, by noontime. Early this morning, we're in the teens and 20s. It's just bitterly cold. Another thing, you're going to have to scrape the frost off the windshield. Don't forget about that. It's 20 degrees now in Frankfort. Get into your afternoon 24-hour planner to help you plan out your day. We're at 33 degrees later on. And the kids coming home from school, they will still need that coat. They'll need the coat all day long. Teachers, it's going to be tough to get the kids out and about today. But I promise you this, tomorrow is going to feel a little bit better. You might be able to do that tomorrow. Low 40s expected. But Thursday, absolutely. You'll be able to do that at least at one point this week, trying to get the kids out to the playground or whatever it may be. Let's talk about your Wednesday off into Thursday. That's when things are pretty calm, but it gets interesting Thursday into Friday. Watch this, hour by hour. Here is your forecast. In toward Wednesday afternoon, low to mid 40s. It's not a bad feel. So things are looking better in the next few days. It's just today is just awfully cold. We're sitting there in the low to mid 30s. So 40s tomorrow. Then you know what? We may even bring in some 50s there on Thursday. Low to mid 50s expected, and it looks like we'll be right around 55 degrees there in London, 56 in Somerset. All day long it looks dry, but heading off into the night, Thursday night into Friday morning, we're going to be seeing that rain, excuse me, try to move on in. And this up and down weather, I'm a walking example of it. My goodness, can't get it going. And here we go, going off into Thursday night into Friday morning, and here comes the rain. So the next few days, it's really going to be all about the temperatures. We're going to see a nice little warm up, and that'll help us out big time. And then we'll start to see those conditions kind of drop off the map as we approach the weekend hours, because the weekend looks like it's going to be one of those times that cooler air comes flying on in, and not only that, but also looking at some pretty nasty conditions with some rain and maybe even the possibility of a little snow. We'll see how that goes. 7-day forecast, here is your look. And today we're at 33, tomorrow 40s, the next day in the 50s. Then we get into that rain Thursday night in the Friday bill, and that's when things really start to change and become interesting. Now, right now, I would say I'm about a 20% confidence rate, about 20% that we actually get that big system rolling in here and causing major issues. So the confidence is extremely low there for the weekend. However, you still have to watch that. I mean, things change big time in just 24 hours, much less 6 days out.
The elements are in place. It's a matter of what shifts where, right?
Exactly. That's exactly
All right. We'll be carefully watching that. Invite you to stay with us as we do. Our time this morning coming up on 6:09. Every morning right here, we bring you weather and traffic together. And let's take a look at what's happening on the roads. There's Officer Don.
Hey, good morning. First, we start off with a live look at Lexington traffic flow. Now, we're not going to see any problems right now on the interstate, on the Circle, or on Man o' War. Everything pretty much good to go around the city, so that's the great news. Construction zones to deal with, the one on Todd's Road near Hayes Boulevard as their widening project continues there. Maybe some delays later, but for now it's pretty quiet in that area as well. Downtown still looks pretty good too. As far as your drive times go, shouldn't run any major issues just yet, as we're seeing there on the wide shot. We're good to go if you're headed toward or from Winchester toward Lexington, from Nicholasville to Lexington, even coming in from Paris with no problems on Paris Pike. Now back to you in the studio.
All right, just making a quick trip out to your car this morning because it is cold.
It is cold. Have the gloves if you can, because you'll need them.
Good coat for the day ahead. Hey, it's great to have you along. WKYT this morning just getting started. It's almost 6:10 now.
A car salesman was taken for a wild ride in Texas. See how he escaped from 2 gunmen after being put in the trunk of a car.
The president outlines his gun control plan as gun owners sound the alarm. I'm Brian Webb in New York. The details are coming up.